Hey all, Dr. Jared here. Welcome to part 2 of our Gut Reset Masterclass. And I really just want to start by acknowledging, especially those quickest action takers that since they watched on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever day they watched the first part, that took some sort of action, whether they changed their food, bought a supplement. There were several people on Monday that had come in and were already purchasing the gut reset protocol. For one person was for their allergies, another one was for bloating, another one was for chronic pain, or they knew they had leaky gut. They just weren't sure which program or protocol to start. And so, one thing about health is, frankly, there's no finish line. And as we age, it also just flat out takes more work to stay the same. And the last, thing that you already know is we live in a very toxic world. I mean, we were just talking about, if for those of you who remember, during COVID, that all of a sudden everybody had to use hand sanitizer all the time. And you had to take hand sanitizer to school. And here's the thing. I'm not here to debate hand sanitizer. Now, when we look at it, does it, the stuff, pre-2020, was hand sanitizer a marketed thing that had more negative benefits than positive benefits? I would very clearly say yes. When hand sanitizer was first put out to the general public, people were supposed to use it when they were around severely immunocompromised people. And then all of a sudden there were like little decorations for people's purses. And, you can go right down the line here. And again, if you are an advocate for hand sanitizer, again, you've done your research, you're confident, by all means. But here's one of the things about it is, what it does is it not just kills bad bacteria, it kills good bacteria. And there are significant links to, unfortunately, killing off the certain good bacteria that can protect against bad bacterial overgrowth. And it is very majorly linked to increased likelihood of small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, so SIBO. So when we're talking about SIBO and you're like, well, how in the heck do I get it? Well, sometimes the solution, just like taking a drug and not getting to the root cause of the problem, simple solutions that you choose to do on a very chronic basis can cause issues. And we already had one mom that was not only doing the gut reset protocol for herself, but she was also looking at doing it for her child. And it's like, how in the heck can a 10-year-old kid have such severe bacterial imbalance? And then you look at it and go, well, what are you spraying their desks with? How often are you putting hand sanitizer? How many antibiotics were they put on as a kid for ear infections or whatever? And so you look at it and go, holy cow, sometimes you need to just frankly not be afraid of germs and strengthen your immune system over time. And so one of the big focuses for this part of the masterclass is specifically looking at, okay, so we know there's a lot of causes. A lot of the first part was on acknowledgement, actionable steps, and also some supplementation you can do, whether it's the detoxing or cleansing or clearing or supporting or whatever. But as we kick off here, we're going to kind of finish up that section, and then we're going to complete I'm going to say the rest of it. So this next slide here says it's not the gluten, it's what the gluten did. And so there's a few factors. So some people are severely gluten intolerant. Some people are very minimally gluten intolerant. As you may know, gluten is a byproduct of certain grains, and it's very cheap. It's not desired to be in food. It's a cheap part of the food. So it tends to be in lower cost or lower quality ingredients, but the components. So for instance, if you look at wheat, when wheat was genetically modified, it was genetically modified, and the predominant form of wheat is called dwarf wheat. So it doesn't grow as tall. Why doesn't it grow as tall? Well, when it was genetically modified to produce more grain, the stalks were breaking, and so the wheat was actually less able to be harvested. So it had to be genetically modified. And again, this is a generalization. There could be a 2-hour history on this if you want to do a bunch of research on it. But it had to be switched into what's called dwarf wheat, which stays lower to the ground so it can hold more grains, which sounds good, but it also not only tends to have more gluten, but it has now a genetically modified gluten, which people tend to not respond as well to. On top of it, the genetically modified stuff is sprayed more. So it has more Roundup, it has more pesticides, fungicides, and so that tends to increase leaky gut, which then can make you even more sensitive and can cause symptoms or diseases like celiac disease, possibly ulcerative colitis, certain food allergies, and a whole variety of other things. And how did it happen? Well, and you'll hear certain farmers talk about like feeding the world. And again, I'm not even debating that there's a higher production, but also the flip side of that is it causing other diseases? And if you are suffering with these diseases, and you do have the means to purchase better, invest more, do something like that, then why aren't we talking about as, hey, you might be feeding the world, but this whole subsidy and cheap food, highly refined sugar has led to more and more diseases, heart disease, cancer, diabetes. And so I don't think it's debatable that eating non-processed foods, eating more organic certainly adds to better health and better gut health when done correctly and appropriately. So that's why we talk about, in Max Living, we talk about the 5 essentials. We talk about chiropractic adjustments to clear your nervous system. We talk about nutrition, mindset, specifically around stress and sleep, exercise and oxygen, minimizing toxins, and a variety of other things. And so we're with your gut, of course, we're going to predominantly focus on nutrition, but let me give you a simple example. When you talk about exercise, there's a lot of data, and I've had several friends of mine who are not in the healthcare field talk about, going for a walk after lunch, and they feel better. It's shown to help them cause less weight gain, a variety of other things. But also exercise tends to increase digestive motility, meaning moving stuff through your system, as well as increasing your metabolism so you can break things down and process the food that you're eating. Also, exercise is the only thing that doesn't rely on insulin for getting sugar into your muscle cells. So if you are eating too many carbs, if you are eating sugar, you are eating candy, as we're approaching Halloween here and the holiday season, and the typical 10-pound weight gain that comes over these next couple months. As those things are happening, exercise can help your body process that sugar in a much healthier way, even if you're insulin resistant, even if you're diabetic. So, going back to nutrition, it's feeding your microbiome. So many fruits and vegetables, and ultimately what we're going to say is non-processed foods, they have everything from enzymes to certain micronutrients that are tough to see on a label and frankly can't be preserved in many cases in processed foods. So certain foods feed different types of bacteria or your microbiome better. Glyphosate or Roundup, this is something that is used, you may remember, but going back, if you look over the last 30 to 35 years, back in the early 1990s, only 10% of food was genetically modified. Now, I believe it's over 90%. And what does that cause? That allows for more chemicals, more sprays, more everything to not only be on your food, but it gets in your food. So like, for instance, there's data on, for Cheerios that show that there's still glyphosate residue in Cheerios. And I'll tell you another way to look at it. If you look at the explosion of, for instance, CBD oil and people saying they get pain relief from CBD oil, to give you the 2-minute version on that, CBD is what's called an endocannabinoid. And endocannabinoids currently can't have your levels tested. They're naturally produced in your gut. And so a healthy gut produces a high amount of endocannabinoids. And so people with a healthy gut often don't feel any better with CBD. But glyphosate specifically is one of those chemicals that when consumed can throw off the gut bacteria that produce endocannabinoids or allow your body to produce endocannabinoids. And so over time, you can become endocannabinoid deficient. And so endocannabinoid deficiency can lead to increased pain, brain fog, and increased inflammation. And so a whole variety of other disease processes. So as you've seen CBD oil become more popular, why is it becoming more popular? It's actually becoming more popular as a side effect of people's bodies being damaged and no longer producing the endocannabinoids themselves. And so people consuming processed foods and non-organic foods tend to get a lot more glyphosate, which over time weakens your gut lining, damages your intestines, causes leaky gut syndrome. So again, leaky gut is a big component of chronic inflammation and the absorption of all sorts of toxins. And the long-term effect of this is one of the major contributors to all sorts of autoimmune diseases. So chronic inflammation, there are so many people that struggle with fibromyalgia, lupus, RA, and a whole variety of other things. You may remember, and I probably haven't talked about this in over a year, but for instance, like, Diet Coke with all the artificial sweeteners and the chemicals is radically linked to not just Diet Coke, but the artificial sweeteners linked to the development of MS, for example. Why? Because it's a known neurotoxin. It can cross your blood-brain barrier and damage your brain and cause autoimmune or inflammation diseases. And so there are genetic components, but why are we seeing them at such higher levels today than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago, than 30 years ago? The argument that, we just didn't know how to test for them, in my opinion, is absolute baloney. Now, maybe we didn't have the tests and there were some people that were undiagnosed, but there is just a flat out reality that the increase in all this chemicals, all these acceptable things in our food. And I know currently we have, I'll say that I'm very pro the RFK stuff, getting dyes and food colorings out of foods. I mean, I can tell you with my kids being in school, there are days where you can tell when they had their Halloween party, or you can tell when a kid had a birthday, because holy cow, are their brains overstimulated. And there is another scientist that I really like named Gary Brecka talked about, how the spraying of, for example, artificial vitamins or the adding of artificial or synthetic vitamins back into the food supply after they've been killed off through the refinement process, how people with the MTHFR gene and a variety of the other methylation genes, how it overstimulates kids' brains. And so, if you or your children, when they eat refined traditional carbohydrates, they're almost like bouncing off the walls and can't control themselves and have ADD and ADHD type symptoms and have depression symptoms and crashes and all that kind of stuff. Well, again, we're talking about food that's become so chemical that it causes all sorts of diseases, throws your gut off. And so, if you struggle with this or know anybody that does, not addressing this at the root cause. We talked about skin in the first, thyroid, joint pain. Now here's the why. Why do GMO crops carry the highest level of chemicals? Is because in general, they're genetically modified to be resistant to these chemicals. So Roundup resistant corn, Roundup resistant beans. What's that mean? A traditional corn stalk, if you spray Roundup on it, it's an herbicide, and so it's going to kill it. Now, I understand that there's other genetic modifications for production, but many of the genetic modifications are so that more chemicals at higher doses at cheaper prices can be sprayed. And again, if you're very pro this, I understand there's like so many things, there are benefits to a higher production of food, but there absolutely, in these situations, there are side effects, and it's just the reality. And if you don't realize it, you may be, especially if you have a disease or you're taking medication to cover it up, not looking to the root cause, there's only going to be a compounding effect on this. So some other things: alcohol, very damaging to the gut bacteria. Sugar, especially simple sugars or processed sugars. I already talked about artificial sweeteners. Food colorings somewhat affect your gut, but definitely affect your brain. We address gluten. Now here's another one. And so if you were like, man, I guess I just can't eat anything, or this is overwhelming, or holy crap, like what am I going to do? In our Nutrition 101 seminars, and anytime we do Shop with the Doc or Shop with the Nutritionist, you could actually make a major change in your health and your gut simply by changing what you cook with. So getting seed oils and damaged fats out of your food. So for instance, if you buy French fries from just about any restaurant, they're fried in a variety of vegetable oils, which are heavy in omega-6s. They're heavily inflammatory. They're severely toxic. They're rancid. They have high amounts of trans fats. They're horrible for you. You might notice I drive by Steak and Shake on my way to and from the office every day. And what's Steak and Shake advertising? What are they cooking their French fries in? They're cooking it in beef tallow, a saturated fat that doesn't turn rancid. And so it's like, I'm not necessarily advocating for Steak and Shake, although it does have kind of a special place in my heart. It's where my grandma took me when I was a little kid and when we would make the big trips over the big city of Rockford, from Freeport or Shannon, Illinois. But, the first thing you can do if you cook with vegetable oil, if you cook with canola, if you remove that and cook with beef tallow, if you cook with coconut oil, if you cook with avocado oil, at low temperatures, if you cook with olive oil, these are oils that can be so much better for your digestion, so much better for your gut. And you could be cooking the exact same thing. You might be cooking a pancake just in better oil. You might be cooking meat just in a better oil. You might be cooking vegetables, whatever. Or in your pasta sauces, but the cheap, whether it's in breads, whether it's in your cooking, whether it's in eating out, the seed oils and the damaged fats are something that destroy your gut. And the other one is traditional or conventional dairy products. One of the things, because I openly, while we strive and we have, I would challenge anybody, you're welcome to come in and look in our pantry or look in my refrigerator. I won't pretend we're perfect, but we are extremely good in the foods that we buy and the things that we eat and the way we prepare foods and the grass feds and the types of oils we cook with and all these different things. But, one thing I do is a couple times a week, I take my kids to breakfast, and it's our one-on-one, it's our date time. I take them to school, typically Tuesday or Thursday mornings, at least one of them. And I rotate kids and get this, high quality one-on-one time. And we play Uno, and it's just great. It's something I've done since they were very little, since they were in preschool. And, my oldest is now in 5th grade. But for my meal, I always say that it's the one spot that I'm a bit high maintenance. When I order food, and so like, for instance, I'll tell you my exact order at Johnny Pancakes today. It was a vegetable skillet with 6 over easy eggs. But specifically, I ask for my everything to be cooked in butter, and I have them take out any cheese, because frankly, like the amount of toxins, the amount of hormones, the amount of stuff that's in non-organic dairy, to me, is just too much. It's something that should be avoided as much as possible. So at our house, some people don't eat dairy at all, depending on how holistic you are, where you sit in your food process. But we do eat some dairy. Grass-fed, organic, raw when possible. But conventional dairy is really hard on your gut. You've probably seen all the milk and things without the RSB, these hormones, and there's just, and it's overheated and highly processed. And so these are the things that affect your gut. And if you do have to eat out, whether it's by choice or because of where you work or whatever, looking at healthier options, specifically looking at avoiding seed oils, avoiding the conventional dairy, trying to get things that are just less toxic, even in the certain meats, can make a big difference in your overall health, in your gut health. So some things to think about. But going back and summarizing this, avoiding processed foods when possible, changing your cooking oils, and then avoiding conventional dairy would be 3 simple action steps that work on this. Now, talking about eating healthier, we mentioned organic, but the dirty dozen. So avoiding the dirty dozen. And so if you've been on a Shop with the Doc or a Shop with a Nutritionist before, you've probably heard about this. But if everybody's on different budgets. So what we talk about is if you're going to change one thing to organic, and ideally organic and grass-fed, you should change your meats. Second, you should change your dairy. Then you should change your fruits and vegetables. I wouldn't eat a cheap meat, but buy organic broccoli. If you're on a budget, I would buy organic meat and I would eat conventional broccoli or whatever it is. But if you're looking even in the fruits and vegetables section, the dirty dozen, you can look that up online, or you can look it up on ChatGPT or Grok or whatever. But basically, if you're going to simplify it, if you can't buy all your fruits and vegetables organic, buy the ones that you eat the skin. So buy a tomato organic, buy a banana traditional, buy an apple organic, buy an orange traditional. If you're not eating it, Some other things that are really good and really healing: bone broth, which is something that if you buy, part of a cow, for instance, and save money that way by buying grass-fed organic or grass-fed cattle, boiling the bones, you can make bone broth for free, or you can buy it in the grocery store. Fermented foods like pickles, kimchi, sauerkraut are all good pre and probiotic. Healthy proteins, eating lots of fiber, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, all are linked to strengthening your liver with glutathione. So hopefully some of those things resonate with you. I mentioned beef tallow. Also fasting. So one of the things you can really do that helps your gut is give it a break. So, some people, and I personally do this around workouts and things like that, but some people will just, healthy amounts of fasting are, for instance, to just not eat for 12 hours of the day. Like, don't eat between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Some people will even go to 16 hours. Some people, when they're trying to lose weight, will go even more than that. They might go 18 hours, or they might only eat one meal a day or 2 meals a day. Now, when you're really getting into that level of fasting, you should have guidance, and you can either do that through Mackenzie, the nutritionist, or you can read online. But if you're going to do some more intense, like cutting to one meal a day and stuff like that, I would strongly encourage guidance or reading up on it or watching seminars on it. But, going 12 hours a day, or for instance, doing one day a month where you just only drink fluids and do a longer fast, it clears out the meat that's stuck to your intestinal walls. It allows your body to digest. It allows your digestive system to rest, so it can allow your body to heal other things. It boosts your immune system. It gives your gut a break to reset. But fasting is something that can be very helpful. Now, many of you, we gave out over 500 books for our summer book club. And for those of you that are active clients that did not take a book, the reality is that book is complimentary for anybody that's willing to read it. And so if you're taking time, the advanced plan is a great way to lose weight. It's a great way to heal your gut. It's a great way to have more energy. It's a great way to reverse diabetes, to lower your insulin levels, to lower your insulin resistance. And it has really 5 simple tenets, which is avoiding all processed foods, avoiding moderate and high glycemic fruits and vegetables, moderating your protein, so 20 to 30 grams in any 2 to 3 hour period, increasing your healthy fats, and then avoiding toxicity. But any of you that are current clients, all of you have some sort of book, whether they're mini books, whether it's the Align Your Health book, whether it's the newest Max Living book, the 5 Essentials to Real Health, which I have, right here next to me at my desk here. But there's meal plans in there. There's recipes. There's so many different things that you could do. Frankly, it just takes planning, and it takes learning to accomplish that. And so the last time I'm going to mention this or really go through it, but this gut reset protocol is a 4-month protocol where you're typically taking a couple of different supplements, but I want to describe the why and how they could affect allergies, brain fog, pain, and all the things that go with it. First, you need to remove it. So Max GI is effective for this, but GI Remove is even more potent. So you're going to kill off bad bacterial overgrowth for the first couple of months. But also you want to be careful not to kill off, because when you're killing off bad bacterial overgrowth, naturally it's going to kill off some of the good stuff too. So along with that, you're going to take microbiome support, which has the things that you need on your gut that typically people are deficient in. So it's going to help with bacterial regrowth. After you're done, or as you're finishing up the remove, you're going to start to replace. So as you might expect, once you kill stuff off, you want to support, but then you also want to replace with even more good stuff. The repair, this is probably my favorite part, because this is the one that, while you're doing the rest of it, gives you the biggest chance to heal food allergies, repair your leaky gut, lower your inflammation levels. And so this is one where you do, it's a lot. You're taking it, I don't know if I want to say it's a lot, but 3 times a day. You're constantly giving your intestinal lining the ability to repair, and then finishing with replenish. And you can imagine there's just different balances and different ratios of supporting the gut while repairing the leaky gut with, there's so much stuff in there. There's individual branch chain amino acids. There's just so many things. And, I was telling our team the other day, a few years back, and several of you guys did this, we had a program called Gut Heal and Seal. It was about $1,400. It worked exceptional, but it also took a year. It took a year. You had to avoid certain foods for a year, some foods for 6 months. You also took a couple different supplements to heal the gut. Frankly, one of the cool things about nutritional science right now is they're finding better and faster ways to do things. And so this can be done over about a 4-month period. You don't have to restrict your foods near as much. It's literally like half the price. And so I want to tell everybody, you can purchase these things individually. But if you just simply commit and buy the bundle, no matter when you consume it, we're offering you 10% off when you purchase the whole bundle and follow the protocol to just make it even easier. And I always tell people, supplements for us have a pretty low supplements. The reason we carry supplements is we want to support you in getting the results that you want. And so going back to what I talked about on the first seminar, if you have gut issues, brain fog, achy joints, autoimmune conditions, headaches, skin issues, especially eczema, for you or your children, this gut protocol may be something that fits you. Additionally, if you think you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, we do have a SIBO diet. And again, that's something that if you're a current client, you can schedule to meet with Mackenzie. She'll go over it with you. It's a outline protocol with, meal planning, recipes, what to avoid, what to consume, how to do it, how to kill it off. And so really just trying to help you do it. But one thing I will say, it took years and for most people decades to get here. And so there's just a reality that that healing takes time. And so healing takes time. And so the thing that I struggle to watch people do is they want the quick fix. And believe me, I can understand wanting the quick fix, but it's like, as Thanksgiving comes up here, what if you put your Thanksgiving turkey in for an hour at 900 degrees? You know what would happen? You'd roast the outside, the inside would still be raw. It wouldn't cook properly. It wouldn't be good. Nobody'd be happy. It reminds me of, Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase when they stick the knife in and the turkey just like explodes and melts. Where the healthier thing is to do it over several hours, baste the turkey, fill it with stuffing in the middle. There's all these different steps, but here's the reality. The difference in the quality of the turkey, the outcome, the success rate. And so, when people take medications, there's certainly a time and a place for it, but whether it's, acid reflux pills or bloating meds or ADD pills or depression medications or whatever, it's like, it's the quick fix that is leading to longer term issues if you don't find the root cause. And so I hope that you're taking time to find the root cause. And so I will say the second word for the mystery word is reset. I'm going to give a little second word to this toward the end, but reset is the second word for the mystery words, reset. And so as we are starting to kind of wind down here, hormones affect your gut, which is why stress and mindset. I mentioned we really focus on sleep quality. And about 2 years ago, if you need to have better sleep or stress management, I would really encourage you to look up on our YouTube channel, our sleep masterclass, based on the book, Why We Sleep. It was just, in my opinion, it was just exceptional. I talked about exercise and gut motility as well as metabolism. Sitting for 3 or more hours shows a 30% reduction in digestive effectiveness, which is why for so many people, taking a walk after they work or working out is so helpful. Minimizing toxins, we've addressed at a high level how it affects your gut bacteria, eating organic, watching The Dirty Dozen. And then lastly, and again, I can never not address this, but it's like there's just a reality that if you don't have a clear nerve system, you could eat all the broccoli you want. You can avoid all the carbs you want. If your stomach's not working properly because you neurologically have impingement or disformity or dysfunction. So it's like chiropractic allows your brain to control every single function of your body and specifically your organs through your neurology, which is why a healthy functioning nerve system affects so many different things. I can't tell you how many kids and adults, when they start getting adjusted, they have less allergies or they go away. Does that mean everybody's go away? No. there's plenty of people who have multiple factors that change. But I just had somebody say, you know, I used to get the cold every single year. I'd get a summer flu, and I haven't been sick in 3 years since I started getting adjusted. And he said to me, you know, I was the one who foo-fooed it. I told my wife that's BS. There's no way chiropractic helps with that. And he's like, hey, it's just different. And so again, there's multiple factors, but addressing your neurology, so many people, when they get scared, they run back to that medical form of thinking like, hey, I have this problem. What can I take for it? And most of that, what can I take for it, is a cover up. And so with that being said, I would just really encourage you to think, are you treating your neurology well? Are you doing your home care? Are you making your chiropractic appointments the way you should? And so what can you do to boost your overall function, boost your immune system going into the winter months here, and focus on healing from the inside out? So I hope you've enjoyed this Gut Reset Masterclass. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up it, like our channel, forward it to your friends. You know, our goal at Chiropractic First of Rockford is to simply support you in reaching the level of health that you deserve, and knowing it's not a finish line, that it's always something that you'll work on. And so, like I said, the second word, we're not actually having a 2-part word. I just wanted to make sure everybody watched till the end. Have a very blessed day.